Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Taking Stock Live, the Caribbean's #1 business show with me, Kalila Reynolds. Let me know who you are. Where are you joining us from? As I put Chris on the screen already, and that's so preempting our guest for a little bit later on in the program. So, where are you joining us from this evening? I see Just My Opinion says future millionaire ready and waiting. Hi girl, 21R7 has a bunch of stars showing us. So I want to know where you're joining us from today. Are you in Jamaica? Are you somewhere outside of Jamaica? And if you're in Jamaica, what part are you joining us from? I love to see in the comments everybody joining us from country. Let me not just say country because I'm a country girl now, to you see, now that I have officially made that move. But if you're in Kingston, if you're in Mobay, if you're in Mandeville, Ochi, St. Thomas, St. Catherine, Portmore, big up all the Portmore people. I don't understand how you do the traffic because now that I have to commute a couple times a week, whew, I salute you. Portmore and St. Catherine people, good evening to you. Kevin says he's from Helsha. Damien joining us from St. Elizabeth. Orville in Spanish Town. Lavar in Portmore. Tanisha in Portland. How's the weather over there in Portland? Any rain this evening? I know it's very wet in Portland very often. So shout out to you wherever you're joining us from this evening. And if you are new to this entire platform, this is your first time joining us for Taking Stock Live, and you're just starting to get that inkling of interest in business and finance and the investment climate, and you want to know more about how you can get started, of course, you can check out my masterclass at KalilaReynolds.com/masterclass, and also subscribe to the newsletter at KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter so that you can get alerts in your inbox. I'm also going to have a special promo code coming up soon, and that will come to your inbox if you are subscribed to the newsletter. There's so many benefits. We give you what's hot in business, your market recap, so many articles and various things when you are subscribed to the newsletter. And the best part is it's free. It's at no cost to you. Who knows? Maybe someday it ends up being a premium subscription and you get to have it for free because you sign up today if you haven't done so just yet. So what's coming up in this evening's show? Here's a look, followed by what's hot in business. Proven Bank is now a real thing after buying out Fidelity Bank in Cayman. What are their plans for the bank and wider company? We'll talk to co-founder and group CEO of Proven Investments, Chris Williams. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. What's driving up Fontana's stock price? The stock jumped 50% last week to close at over $12 on Friday. Wisynco and PanJam's results are out. How did they do? And over in the US, Google's 20-to-1 stock split will make stock prices much more affordable for potential investors. Meanwhile, Mark Zuckerberg's net worth fell almost $30 billion in one day, the second largest single-day loss in history. We'll discuss. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Proven Investments now has its own bank. The company completed the acquisition of Fidelity Bank Cayman on February 1. Fidelity Bank will be renamed Proven Bank Cayman. Fidelity has operated in the Cayman Islands since 1980. They provide banking solutions such as deposit accounts and credit cards to domestic and international clients. The bank had $354.1 million in total assets up to September 2020. Proven's head of banking and wealth division, Johan Heaven, said that with the company's backing, he believes Fidelity is uniquely positioned to provide the catalyst and funding for major development and corporate projects in the Cayman Islands. The acquisition brings Proven's asset base past $1 billion. Fidelity is Proven's second business in the Cayman Islands after International Financial Planning Limited. Jamaica set a new record for remittances sent to the island between January and November 2021. According to data from the Bank of Jamaica, total remittance inflows to the island for the period came to a historic $3.18 billion. This surpasses the previous record of $2.9 billion US set in 2020. The new record confirms World Bank predictions that flows into the island would fall into the $3 billion US ballpark in 2021. The BOJ report indicates that net remittance inflows grew by 16% compared to November of 2020. 70% of remittances came from the United States, which was the largest source market. Other notable countries were the UK and Canada, which both contributed 10%, and the Cayman Islands at 5%. Data for December is not yet available. Following fierce backlash over increases in banking fees, the island's two largest commercial banks have taken steps to calm their customers. Scotiabank announced that it will be delaying the ATM and point-of-sale fee hikes for 6 months. The bank said it will be doing public education to ensure that customers have the best account type, which may be exempt from the new fees. Scotiabank had said it would charge $25 for withdrawals at its own ATMs and $60 for withdrawals at other banks' ATMs. Meanwhile, NCB sent an email to customers detailing their free services. The bank noted that NCB ABM and point-of-sale transactions for Quick Save and Gold Club accounts are free. Balance checks are also free with the NCB mobile app, personal online banking, ABMs and kiosks. It added that cash and check deposits at NCB IABMs and checks under $15,000 in cashed in branch are all free. Other free services include bill payment at IABMs on the NCB mobile app and personal online banking. The announcement of the new and increased banking fees drew widespread criticism from the government, opposition and the public. The government also indicated that it was not opposed to implementing laws to restrict some banking fees. Guardian General Insurance has signed an agreement with the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, CCRIF, to offer protection against losses from extreme weather. The Livelihood Protection Policy is a microinsurance product. It's designed to protect the livelihoods of low-income and vulnerable persons such as small farmers and fishers, seasonal tourism workers, market and food vendors, musicians, day laborers, and small entrepreneurs. The organization said that policyholders would get paid based on the magnitude of the weather event instead of the magnitude of the losses. Under the policy, persons would receive quick cash payouts following extreme weather, specifically high winds and heavy rain. The policy is being implemented in 5 pilot countries: Belize, Grenada, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. Facebook's parent company Meta recorded a historic plunge in stock value last week, losing over $200 billion in market value. The company's 26.4% decline was the biggest one-day loss in history for a U.S. company. The effect was felt by other social media companies such as the stocks of Twitter and Snap, which also fell. Analysts said that Meta sank after forecasting revenue fall well below analysts' expectations for the current quarter, following privacy changes by Apple and increased competition from TikTok. Meta also reported a rare decline in profit due to a sharp increase in expenses as it invests in transforming itself into a virtual reality company. Additionally, the company reported its first dip in daily users globally on the Facebook platform. Meta, which also owns Instagram and WhatsApp, said it faces fierce competition for young users from the rapidly growing short-form video platform TikTok. What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Our key word for 2022 is consistency. I've told you before that you can start investing with as little as 1,000 Jamaican dollars, but the key to growing that into actual wealth is consistency. So here's what we're gonna do. Step 1, open your investment account. Step 2, set up a standing order or a salary deduction with your employer to fund that investment account every month, so that at the end of each month, you have money to buy stocks. Step 3, you're going to watch my show, Taking Stock with Kalila Reynolds, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on YouTube for news and analysis on the stock market. And if you're completely clueless as to how to get started, well, you take my Investing for Beginners Masterclass at KalilaReynolds.com/masterclass. 2022 is going to be your year. Let's get this money. This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency, insurance made easy, and Appleton Estate, Jamaican excellence. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, everybody. You heard that 2022 is going to be your year. Can you believe that we're already more than 1/12 of the way through 2022? Like January is gone, we're midway through February almost. The time is just flying by, isn't it? I wish Omicron and all whatever other variants exist can fly by just as quickly. I want to big up everybody who is joining us early this evening. Montego Bay in the house. And Rodney Hacker says, loving this program. It's my favorite on Tuesdays. Well, thank you so much, Rodney. And for those of you, I see 115 people joining us live so far. Let me give you a little bit of time to hit the like button because I'm not seeing 115 likes just yet. We want to make sure that other people get notified that this program is on. So the more you like it, the more you share it, the more people get to see, and that's how the show grows. Shout out as well to Orville. So Orville says, how did you come up with consistency as the new key word? Well, that's pretty easy. It's one of my mantras, not just for investing, but for everything. Consistency. I always talk about it in the gym as well, just being consistent, doing the same thing over and over and over until it becomes routine and you become consistent is the key to success. Speaking of success, I'm speaking with somebody this evening who knows quite a bit about that. As a matter of fact, he has a proven track record. See what I did there? Proven Investments Limited has now acquired its own bank. That's Fidelity Bank in the Cayman Islands, and they do have plans to rename that to Proven Bank. So let's find out some more about their plans for 2022 and beyond. Hi, Chris. Good evening. Hi, you're on mute. You're muted, Chris.
Hey, sorry about that. Hey.
There we go. Yeah, it's been a minute. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the Christopher Williams, co-founder and group CEO of Proven Investments Limited. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Yeah,
It's been a
yeah.
minute.
I'm a co-founder of your show as well. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Don't forget our lunch dates up in Ligony where we talked about setting up this program.
Where you told me not to do it. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget when you told me not to do taking stock
Lies,
and focus
lies,
on Money
lies.
Mondays. So yeah, it's been, I don't think I've actually had a sit down with you since before the pandemic. That was right around the time you were launching the APO
Yeah, yeah,
and it got well, you put it on pause. And I
yeah,
never did talk to you again live after that. So we have quite a bit of catching up to do. And
yeah.
tell me what these past couple of years have been like for you and Proven.
The last 2 years haven't been bad for us. Our investments have done well. Uh, just to kind of walk you through, I notice you say that we have our bank, but I want to remind you and your viewers that we already have a bank. We have
Yes,
a
Boss Lil, huh?
Basel in St. Lucia. So, so we have that. We've been operating that as Bosdale for the last 4 or 5 years. And of course, we are the largest shareholder in the JMMB group. So we have had significant exposure to banking right across the Caribbean, for the last 5 years at least. So this acquisition isn't a bad one, but when you take a look at the last 2 years for us, it's been extremely busy. We acquired Roberts, the margarine
Manufacturing.
company and manufacturing business in Barbados. We acquired Heritage Funds, which is in Jamaica, Bahamas, and Bermuda, and then we just closed on Fidelity Bank. So we've been very busy during the pandemic. And,
Obviously.
yeah, and our investments have also been doing very well. JMB has been doing extremely well. We're so happy with that investment. They're on a tear, and growing from strength to strength. Access has also recovered nicely. They got a hit going into the pandemic, and they have recovered nicely. They just released their results for the quarter, and you'll see that their profits are up. So, and then of course our real estate investments have done very well. We're just about ready to wrap up on Via on Braemar Avenue, which is our flagship project, and that's sold out. So the pandemic hasn't been too bad for us. Knock on wood.
That's good. And I'm now located in Mandeville, so that's your development beside Mega Mart.
Exactly. So we're doing big things in Mandeville. That's going to be real nice. We have a nice tenant that we're just signing, and that will be announced shortly for the commercial. So the commercial is pretty much sold out, and then
I saw the sign said commercial and residential, so it's a mixed use building.
Mixed use, not development, not building. There'll be separate buildings, but the commercial is at the front, and then the apartment residential complex is at the back. So,
gotcha.
So it's going to be very, very attractive. You're going to like it. It's going to be your hangout spot. It's going to be your hangout spot.
Well, then Mandeville needs it. We need.
Mandeville needs it. But it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice.
And when the highway is finished,
good job.
Nice,
and then and then the highway is finished, and so now is a great location. My family and I are actually buying one of the units down there because it's a nice spot to go hang out on the weekends. So yeah, man, we're looking forward to that one. We're also doing one in Ocho Sol Harbor, which is right smack in the middle of Ocho, right by the four-way, right smack in the middle of Ocho. So that one going to be nice too. It's going to be a nice little Airbnb property where we have a front desk and everything. So you can check in your Airbnb guest and all of that. So it's going to be built specially for Airbnb. So yeah, we're busy. We're doing wrapping up in Cayman. Lagoons is the name of that one. 13 units. We've sold 9 already, and so that one should be done in about September. I toured it just last week, so it's coming along nicely. And so we're real estate portfolio is growing as well. So just to walk your listeners through how we see ourselves. We see ourselves in 3 buckets: banking and wealth, which are our proprietary platforms, and those include Proven Wealth here in Jamaica, Fidelity in Cayman, Basil in St. Lucia, and IFP, which is also in Cayman, and Heritage Funds. Those 5 platforms we're going to merge into one. And that merger will take place over the next year. And we're going to have Proven Bank and Proven Wealth. Those will be our 2 platforms across the Caribbean.
So you're going to be changing the names of Basil and Fidelity to Proven Bank?
Yeah, we're doing the research now because Basil's name is fairly strong. So we're doing some research now on the name of Basil. But that's the ideal position that we'd like to end up at, where we just have a bank platform called Proven Bank and a wealth management platform called Proven Wealth, and have that across the Caribbean. So that's 1. 2, we're going to continue with our real estate developments, and we're targeting right now 3 countries, and those countries are Jamaica, Barbados, and Cayman. Those are the 3 countries we're targeting our real estate developments in right now.
Do you have any real estate in Barbados already?
We don't, but we are in discussions with a number of opportunities there. The villa market in Barbados is extremely hot, and providing some good, strong returns. So we're doing some assessment on that, and we're looking to see if that can evolve into an opportunity. But those are the 3.
You're looking at acquisition or construction or building something?
Both. it does look like we're going to have to be leaning more towards development or greenfield development or brownfield development because, the acquisitions are few and far between on the real estate front. People just don't want to get rid of their assets once they're up and running and well tenanted and so on. They don't want to get rid of those assets. So we're going to have to look at brownfield, and developing something for ourselves. But we're keeping an eye out for acquisition. And then our third strategy is what we call opportunistic investments, and those are investments where we take a more passive approach, and we're just an investor, and those include Access, those include JMB, those include Roberts in Barbados, where we're not obviously the drivers. We're more just an investor in those. So that's how we want you, the investing public, to think of us within those three strategies.
Well, a lot of questions coming in for you already, Chris, and people are like writing in all caps and telling me to make sure I ask. So I'll come to those in just a minute. Hold your horses, no viewers, patience, no, just a little bit. But first, I just want to get a sense, because this is 12 years in the business well, not in the business, you've been in the business much longer than that, but 12 years for Proven.
Much longer. Don't be fooled by my youthful looks.
I was going to say youthful exuberance, but let me leave that for you.
No, youthful looks.
Yeah, 12 years for Proven. What does it take to build a company to this level now? You're now at $1 billion in assets.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Did a private placement in January 2010, and got 150 people to invest and gave us $20 million, and we set about building a private equity strategy company to go about looking for opportunities. And as you said, we're now at $1 billion in total assets. So
from 20 million to 1 billion in 12 years. That's remarkable.
It is, and no, not much gray hair. I mean, I don't have any hair.
Hiding it.
So no, listen. I mean, it's a team. It's the team. I'm up front, and and a lot of people see me, but the guys behind me, the other co-founders, the investment management committee, the board of directors, the management team, the staff. It's an extremely solid, efficient team that just constantly are looking for opportunities and are just excited to get up every morning and to do this job. So I want to say thanks to the team for being so passionate about the opportunity, and to and just to keep pushing certainly me, but pushing everybody along. We certainly want to deliver a better earnings per share to our investors, and so what we really want to focus on now is maximizing the returns from a lot of these opportunities. So that's where our focus is, just trying to drive efficiencies through the portfolio, and to be able to give our shareholders the returns that they certainly deserve.
Right. Well, speaking of that, there are quite a few questions about on that very note. Strong Link says, why are all these accomplishments not reflected in an increase in the share price? And I don't know that that's necessarily a question for you, but maybe you can take a stab at it.
No, I agree. I mean, certainly as a shareholder myself, I would like to see the share price reflect, what we have in front of us. As you know, a lot of the analysis done on companies is based on what is behind them in terms of PE strategy based on historical earnings, as opposed to to what is in front. So I don't think the market typically prices companies on projected earnings, or and so you may have to look at that as an opportunity. I certainly do. But from my perspective as a CEO, my focus is on getting EPS up and on making sure that my shareholders feel the benefit of these investments in their pockets. And so, I hope that over the next year, you will see the results of these investments.
Well, also on that note, Orville says, what timeline are you looking for those acquisitions to start paying dividends?
I definitely this year. Definitely this year. I think we're already seeing that in JMB. If you take a look at JMB's earnings over this last 9 months, it's been phenomenal, and so we're extremely happy with the risk that we took on stepping up to the plate and buying the chunk of JMB that we did. So we think that will pay off. Roberts, if you take a look at our earnings, certainly in the well, sorry, you haven't seen the earnings yet. They're not released, but Roberts is stepping up well and nice in the last quarter. So you'll see that when those are released. So the investments that we've made in the opportunistic portfolio are paying off. Our REIT is lumpy because it depends on when the developments close, and we will close VIA in this quarter. So you'll see those earnings coming into the P&L because
what percentage of VIA is sold?
VIA is about 98% sold. I think we have like one unit left that that person gave us back the unit. So you'll see those profits coming in one big lump sum. Because that's just how accounting wise you book sales from properties. So that will come into this quarter. And then Fidelity and so on, we expect those to contribute immediately. Fidelity and Heritage will contribute immediately. So we expect 2022 to be a good year from a P&L standpoint.
Remington wants to know if you have any investments in Trinidad.
No, we don't. Currency is a challenge in Trinidad.
Yes.
We need US dollars. We're a US dollar listed company. We pay most of our dividends in US dollars. We track our performance in US dollars, and Trinidad doesn't have a lot of US dollars. Strong economy, but have some currency challenges. So we're staying out of Trinidad for now.
The same problem that we have in Belize. So I've been looking at some possible opportunities there, but the currency issue, the fixed exchange rate is a real challenge to deal with. And it's the same challenge that Trinidad has. All right. Philip says, I'm hearing that you guys may be interested in acquiring a whale. Anything you can elaborate on? Another finance company, or looking at the real estate sector, the real sector for that?
No comment. No comment.
You can't come on this show and say no comment, Chris.
No.
You cannot. That phrase is banned on this show.
No, I mean, at this time, Philip, I really want to demonstrate the performance of the businesses we have acquired already. I think, we've done a lot of acquisitions. What I want to do now is to show you those acquisitions coming through to the EPS. So that would definitely be on the back burner. That wouldn't be on the front burner.
So, well, let me ask you this: are you still in acquisition mode after this string from? No, not right now.
No, we're not. We are in organic growth mode. We're in organic growth mode.
Fair enough. I mean, you do have a lot more on your plate than you did 2 years ago.
Exactly.
So the team has to expand. Everything has to expand in accordance with that.
Exactly.
Romaine says, will Proven still consider taking on, I guess you mean another APO, because they did do the APO, just that they didn't do it when they originally planned to. So
Right. We did
another
it
one?
last year. Last year, February, we did an APO. So no, not at this time. Not at this time. The focus right now is on getting EPS up and showing our shareholders that the acquisitions that they so graciously supported us in executing, that these acquisitions have paid off. So no, the focus is on organic efficiency moves as well as organic growth and making sure that EPS goes north.
Any plans to bring Proven Bank to Jamaica?
No, no. We like the international banking space. I mean, it's really a nice space. I love it. They are the international clientele. They operate a lot less transactional and mostly online. So you don't have to do a lot of brick and mortar and a lot of transactional stuff. I love it. It's a lot easier form of banking. And then the wealth of the world still is attracted to the Caribbean, especially Bahamas, Cayman, Bermuda, Saint Lucia. Those countries attract disproportionate amounts of funds, and so we just want a small piece of that. So no, we like
I
the
noticed where you've
international.
gone, Cayman and St. Lucia. Those are two places known for offshore banking. The two banks
We
that you
use
selected,
we use the
they're
term
offshore.
we use the
Well,
term
they do
international.
offshore.
We use the term international banking now. We don't use the term offshore.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're into offshore. Sorry, we're into international banking. See,
International banking, that's a pretty term now.
that's the
M.
pretty
Johnson
term.
wants to know about heritage. So M says, will heritage educational funds give better returns with this merger?
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I'm a
Look up
customer of
there.
heritage for the little ones, so I want to know
Exactly.
that too.
Absolutely. We think it's a fantastic product. And so we think that if we can bring our attention to detail, that we have delivered on the pension funds and on the unit trust, we can bring that to heritage funds, then we think, obviously it will result in even greater sales. So absolutely, we're zoned in on that, and look out, you're going to see some good changes coming in the near term.
Okay, all right. Some big changes you said. When, this year?
This year, the focus is on performance for the businesses that we have acquired. We're not looking for acquisitions. We're looking for
No, you said you're going to see some big changes, I think you said, with heritage.
in heritage. Yeah. I mean, it's going to take a little time because obviously you have to rejig the portfolio and so on. But we have started, and so yeah, look out for that. We like the heritage portfolio. Nice size, nice portfolio.
And then Roger wants to know about the price range of the properties, I guess, under the real estate fund.
Why, I get crucified on
I
that.
know. I remember.
I get crucified on that a couple years ago. Boy, Roger, I mean, I'm not talking about real estate
People,
price
people,
ever
people have been saving
again.
up their latte money clearly because they're 98% sold out.
Yeah, we're not talking about no latte or anything. All I can say is that we are constantly assessing the cost components in the properties, and it obviously benefits us if we can find a way to get prices down. And so that is a huge part of our daily analysis, is how we can engineer the properties differently to get the price down.
So I'm going to take two more questions from the viewers. Akeem says, what is the ticker for Proven REIT stock? So Proven REIT is not a separate not a separate ticker, but I think it's a decent question. Any plans to separate the companies and list separately or no?
No plans. If you want exposure to proven REIT, you have to buy proven. So no, we have thought about it, and we feel that having a multi-tiered strategy is better for the shareholders. So when you buy shares in proven, you get exposure to manufacturing through Roberts, you get exposure to to JMB, you get exposure to Cayman through Fidelity, you get exposure to real estate through proven REIT. So we think that it makes our value proposition more attractive, and so no, we're keeping all of them private.
So I did say two more, but the questions are rolling in, and there's some good ones too. Kevoy wants to know, what is Proven stance on cryptocurrency? Are there any plans to add it to your portfolio?
No plans to add it to the portfolio, but we have made moves to give you opportunities to trade it on our global trading platform. So that's through Proven Wealth. But for us, no, we're not. We don't see it as an asset class that we want to venture in at this time.
And then Kidari says, do you have challenges navigating the regulations associated with real estate development in Jamaica like other developers?
No, and it's quite surprising to me every time it comes up in the news. It's I find the regulations to be quite straightforward, and we have been able to operate quite easily within those guidelines. So no, we apply, we get the approval, they outline the terms. We follow the terms. That's just how it goes. If you don't get the terms that you would like, then you apply again, and you keep applying and tweaking the design until you get the necessary approval.
Philip wants to know, where is it? Will Heritage also rebrand?
That's another good question. We are cognizant of the age of the Heritage brand and how strong it has been. So the thinking right now is to keep Heritage as a product. So Heritage would flow under Proven Wealth and be an independent product under Proven Wealth. So Heritage would stay as a product under Proven. So no.
And last question comes from Orville. He says, I've heard some noise that you're trying to get Premier League in Jamaica listed on the stock exchange.
Yeah, not Premier League, but the clubs, at least one of the clubs listed on the stock exchange. And I think that it's a good value proposition. The major revenue opportunity for these clubs, is not winning the Premier League or television rights from the Premier League or merchandise. It is selling players, and as you know, the revenue opportunity from the sale of just one player is very significant, and I firmly believe that the talent is here, and that these clubs have the ability, once they're properly funded, they have the ability to churn out good quality players and have those players available for sale to the European and the American market. So I think that it's an excellent value proposition, and so we're looking at one or two clubs and getting them properly structured and having the prospectus outline the pool of talent that they have on their roster and the ability for that talent to be monetized through the transfer window. So it is, investing in a football club is, in my opinion, an attractive opportunity.
Yes, yes, and the benefit of it as well is that it ensures proper management of the football club, because in order to list, you have to have that management structure there, that governance structure.
And there are one or two clubs that have it in place. I am confident. I've been exposed to them now for the last 18 months, and I'm very, very confident that their recruiting, their training, their nutrition, their ability to get the youngsters to perform at their best is there. All they need is some capital to put them in a position to expose these youngsters to the international marketplace. As you know, Jamaica full of talent, athletic talent,
Hmm.
are we that? So I believe that investing in a football club has a good long-term opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chris, for joining me this evening. And I'd like to offer you a sip of Appleton rum next time we link up. Where's the title? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Next
Big up
time we link
yourself.
up, we'll have some Appleton, all right?
Big up yourself, Kalila. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, so viewers, a lot of you still had some questions and we ran out of time, but you always have an opportunity. We can talk again some more after this. We have the analysts coming up, and do we have a poll question this evening? Let me see. Yes, we do. So, what are your thoughts on massive distributions cross-listing on the JSE? What are your thoughts on that? So take our poll in the community section of the YouTube channel. Just go on the channel, click the community tab, and you can take that poll. If you're using the app, it might just show up on your feed there on YouTube, and you can just participate in that poll. Awesome stuff. So up next, it's your market recap. We want to find out which stocks did the best and the worst last week. And then we have the analysts to talk about it. They're standing by. Segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency, insurance made easy, and Appleton Estate, Jamaican excellence.
Time now for your market recap, brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments. The JC Combined Index lost nearly 900 points, or 0.2%. 114 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, February 4, 2022. 64 advanced, 39 declined, and 11 stayed the same. 169 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, totaling $1.16 billion. Spurtree Spices was the most traded. It took up nearly 20% of market volume. The stock gained 38 cents to close last week at $3.01. Wigton Wind Farm ordinary shares traded at the second highest volume, with people buying nearly 15 million shares in the company. The stock gained 3 cents to open this new week at 55 cents. Trans-Jamaican Highway rounded out the most traded, taking up 7% of market volume. The stock lost 2 cents to close last week at $1.22. Now let's see who had the biggest gains for the week. Investors are driving up Fontana's price. The stock was this week's biggest gain, up a whopping 51%. The stock opened this new week at $12.04 after sitting in the $7 region for the most part of last year. Margaritaville Turks USD also rose an astonishing 51% to open this week at $1.49 US. Wonder if their recent appearance on Taking Stock had anything to do with it. And rounding out our biggest gains, Everything Fresh rose 43% to open this week at $1.49. On the losing side now, JMMB Group 7.25% was last week's biggest loser, down nearly 36%. The stock closed last week at $2.30. Portland JSX fell 22% to open this new week at $7.06. And rounding off the week's biggest losers, ISP Finance Services, which lost 19% to close last week at $29.79. Market recap was brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Proven Wealth and Ideal Securities Brokers Limited.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back. It's great to have you in the house once again. So, some of our comments. Eileen says, love the Premier League idea. Philip is agreeing. Strong Link says, keep up the good dividends in the meantime. GOM says, Fontana. Yes, we're going to talk about it. Let me introduce our analyst panel for this evening. We're joined by Senior Wealth Advisor at Ideal Securities Brokers Company, Dwayne Taylor, Assistant Manager of Private Equity at Proven Management, Julian Morrison, and Research and Strategy Analyst at Sagicor Investments, Julianne Aris. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, Khalil.
Hey, Khalil.
Welcome back to the show. Well, let's start with Fontana, which had a great surge last week. It ended the week at $12 and change. I see that it fell a little bit today and yesterday. It's down to now 11 something. But coming from 7.95, that's still pretty good performance. So, what is driving up the price increase in Fontana? Who wants to go first?
Well, I think my position on Fontana is clear. I covered it 4 weeks ago. But just to be brief, Fontana has a very unique retail experience. They have a good mix in terms of their product offering because it's not just a pharmacy, even though the pharmacy is a profit driver according to management. When you step into a Fontana, it's the closest thing that we have to a comprehensive retail experience as far as retail goes in Jamaica. So that keeps a loyal customer base. And I think investors are also anticipating a very strong December quarter, including myself. So, we're keeping our eyes open for that.
Do you know when those results will be released?
Very soon, it should be this month, thereabout.
So possibly, yes, people looking forward to those, salivating over that December quarter result coming out. Dwayne, have you been tracking Fontana?
Yeah, it's hard not to follow up on it. I definitely have to agree with Julian with that unique client base. I mean, even if you go there, normally as an advisor, we tend to recommend clients to buy into companies that you not only see are doing well, but you actually utilize the service. And in going to Fontana, the experience that they offer to you, it's on par with some of the, I want to say, international pharmacies, so to speak, but that holistic experience. And then on top of that, they're backed with a lot of positive news. So, we heard back last year, I believe in December, with the capital raise that they did. We know about the expansion that they're doing as well. And I'm sure persons have been very excited about the Portmore location and what that will have to offer to the general public. So, I mean, I feel like this is one of those instances where, investors are now opening up to the idea. As Julian said, the results are about to happen. So capitalizing on the price that it's at now, so that when results actually do come out, we might see that surge in price and persons would benefit from, the business actually just doing well and growing organically.
One of my favorite stocks to own. And when you think that the IPO price was $1.88, and it's now it was last week at $12 and change from 188 in just about 2 years, not less than 2 years. That's pretty spectacular.
Preach the gospel,
Jody,
Kalila. Preach it.
huh?
Preach the gospel, Kalila. Preach it. Preach it.
What?
I said, preach the gospel.
Kalila.
People need to invest. Yes. People need to invest, man.
Well, that's what I do every day. I preach it. Yep. Jodianne, how you doing?
Hi, I'm okay.
Your volume is a little bit low, but I think we can work with it. We can hear it. I don't know if any of you've been watching QWI, but I see in the comments, Philip says he's predicting that QWI will be next week's Fontana. And then Kidari says, why is QWI price depressed even after a super quarter result and a 1.5, I think that should be NAV. 1.5, I don't know, what does that stand for, NBV? Or is it a typo? Anybody been watching QWI?
No, I
Not
don't watch.
really.
I
Not
don't follow
really. All right, so
QBI.
next week we catch up with QWI and what's going on there. All right, Jodianne, I see you have been looking at this whole chicken issue because chicken prices are going up. We already got that notice from Jamaica Broilers, and then KFC entered the chat and said, well, that they got notice that there's actually a chicken shortage, to which Jamaica broilers clap back and say, no, 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 there's no shortage. And now I hear there's conversation about importing chicken parts. So, what analysis can you give us about this whole situation and how it may affect stock prices?
Uh, yeah, so I mean, with the whole chicken price situation, it really stemmed from overall government trying to be helpful to consumers. So they were coming to say, hey, we understand that we can import chicken parts at a lower cost, based on where it is currently trading in our market. And, they wanted to put a temporary allowance for the importation of chicken. So there's normally a duty associated with the importation of chicken that would in some ways protect our small industries. So particularly I have quite a bit of small farmers in the chicken space. And so, in economics, they tend to use, these sort of tariffs to protect the local industry. And so that was the initial thing that came from government. So we noticed that, chicken prices have been rising. It has been a continuing conversation for probably about a 2 week, 3 weeks period. And in the latest portion, KFC would have said, hey, there's, chicken shortage from our supplier. And that for that supplier, which is a listed company, would then, feel some of the effects if it is that they did not respond to indicate that, that's not the case. At this point, you just have two varying stories. And there's not really a point where as a outsider that you'd necessarily know exactly what's happening, because it's two different sides to the coin. But there's also the discussion that it is likely that maybe in the consideration that there are high prices from the local market, that probably KFC is seeking to have some amount of import at a lower cost that would then offset some of their expenses. As KFC is one of those commodities that have been having quite a bit of price hike. I think they probably raised like 5 times within a year, if they're about. And so that would have had some amount of impact in terms of,
People still buy it, so.
That's true, but it does play a role in terms of how it is that probably you may not buy as much. So I mean, somebody who probably considered, a box food versus KFC, probably have KFC now probably once a week, probably just reserve it for a Friday, as opposed to probably having KFC on a Tuesday and a Friday. So it could have some impact there. So if it is that your sole supplier is short and people do see KFC as a big market, then it would impact the possibility for revenues for JB. And so that would have some impact. But they have said that, that's not the case. And so, it is how, is what that relationship now is between a KFC and a Jamaica broilers. And if it is that they are probably seeking to renegotiate, if those are possibilities and how it would impact, particularly for our broilers.
You had something that you wanted to share on your screen, Jody?
So I initially was going to talk about the flour, because flour prices are also up, which is not necessarily related to chicken, but that was another one that was.
But it goes in the making of the KFC, because you have to flour the chicken too.
Yeah, but then it would have impact for other listed companies like a Seprod, a Honey Bun, a Purity, and particularly those that are within the retail space. So when you consider like probably a Derrimon and a GK, it goes into their considerations, because you don't necessarily as a seller want to pass on your cost as quickly, because then you may lose, your consumers, and you want to be in some ways a little bit, concerned about the needs of those persons who you are selling to. And so those things play into how quickly they can pass on costs to consumers. So if it is that they're not passing on those costs immediately, then it takes a little bit of time before, they mean that they have to absorb some of those costs, which then, eats out in terms of profitability.
Right. So Akeem says chicken move faster when it dead and deep fry. And Marcus has the comment of the day. Is that what you call foul play?
Only time will tell. It's kind of hard to say exactly.
FOWL, that's a good one.
I know. I mean, only time will tell that we'll see exactly what is there, but it doesn't necessarily put for broilers in a good standpoint at this point in time.
All right, let's look at some results that were recently released. Wisynco's results are out. Dwayne, give us the highlights.
Well, let's get right into it. Let me just share my screen.
And Wisynco, as you know, viewers, a very large Jamaican manufacturing and distribution company. They manufacture all kinds of drinks, sodas, juices, many household products that you're very
You,
familiar
you,
with. Cran
you
water,
guys see my screen?
water. I saw it earlier. Yes, I'm seeing it now.
Seeing
You're
the
gonna have to
financials?
zoom in on that though, because we can't read that.
Oh boy.
Zoom in on the part that you want us to see.
All right, let me adjust it a bit. All right.
Like I was
Seeing
saying,
it a bit
zoom in.
better?
Yes, much better.
All right, perfect. All right, I mean, to say the least, Wisynco has definitely been on the road to recovery, and it's reflecting in their financials. Just to point out some of the key highlights of their financials, when we look at the income statement, revenue up 19% quarter over quarter, the highest ever in their history. So not only are they recovering well in the midst of the pandemic, they're also, setting records for themselves. So amazing stuff. Operating profit also up 40%. Their net profit significant increase, roughly 69%. So overall, the profits the margins have been up this quarter. And most notably, their exports, they actually saw an increase of 103%. So their business lines are recovering
Nice.
steadily.
Where are
Yeah,
they
exactly.
exporting to?
In terms of the international market, I know that they would have some activity in the US market. Julian, you wanted us to jump on that? You know exactly where they're exporting to. I think it's US
They
predominant.
have it's largely in the US, but they also have some other territories in the Caribbean that they export to, but not to a great extent. Actually, a
Yeah,
large share of their revenues are still in Jamaica. So it means that
yeah.
in terms of exports, they are just starting to chip away at that, and it could be
Hmm.
the tip of the iceberg. So it's just the beginning for them where that is concerned and their
I
potential.
mean, they absolutely
Yeah.
have some world-class products. Cran water was unique when it was introduced to the market. That is a world-class product, in my opinion, and they have many more as well that meets global standards, so they can easily do a lot of business in exports.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I definitely say that they cater to the diaspora in the U.S. market. So for the Caribbean region, yes, there's a market there, but predominantly when it comes on to their exports, it's been the U.S. market. But let me continue because it gets better. All right, so let's look at their assets. All right, so one thing to note about Wisynco is that they've been able to maintain a very low leverage ratio. And what I mean by that, a lot of their assets aren't backed by loans or liabilities. You understand? So they're very cash intensive, and it's a good sign of the financial position of the company. Any company that that has a lot of assets and they don't have to take out too much debt to fund those assets is definitely a company that you want to focus on, pay keen attention to them, right? So they've been able to also keep their debt relatively low. So even if we look at their short-term borrowings, we notice that has actually taken a decrease into the Q2 for this year. And then if we move on to their cash flow, I mean, this is incredible. Their cash flow has roughly increased. I want to say this is about sorry about that, about 30%, I believe. I made a note of it here, but their cash flow has increased from 5.9 to 8.8 billion. That's significant, and it just shows you the position that they're in, the room for them to not only invest in improving their business lines, but also for expansion. As you said, the export market has exploded for them. So you can imagine they will continue to grow the business, yes, in the US market, but also in the Caribbean region. So cash is king. They're in an excellent position right now. And if we look at the performance since the announcement, I was going to pull up the graph. Are you seeing the graph here of
Yes.
Wisynco? Right. So we see how the stock price has essentially surged to, I think it closed at 19.50. At least trading was between about $19 and $20. So the unfortunate thing about this, I would say that persons were just watching Wisynco, waiting for Q2 results, and now that they came out, there was a surge, a surge of investors looking to buy in and capitalize. So definitely some individuals would have benefited from the results coming out if they had held it previously. But we want investors to be a bit more proactive, and hopefully, given their performance over the first 2 quarters for the year, persons will start to buy into Wisynco a bit more. Their PE right now is trading is at about 14 to 15 times earnings. So given that the PE is still slightly below the market, well, the main market PE, I would say that it's definitely still a good stock to buy, and we would more or less see Wisynco going maybe to $25-$30 possibly. Don't quote me on that, but based off of where they're heading, 25-30 is a reasonable place to expect the stock price to go to over the course of the year, given that COVID doesn't throw us any more curveballs. I mean, we're dealing with Omicron, but we never know what might happen. But based off of how things are going, it looks positive.
Nice. Well, I definitely look forward to seeing what Wisynco has in store for the next year if those predictions hold true. But let's just add our standard disclaimer that this is not investment advice. This is not intended as investment advice. Please consult your licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions and seeing if this might be a good pick for you. All right, so another company that has recently released results is PanJam. Their 9-month results are out, Julian. What are the highlights?
Okay, so we're going to do a deep dive on PanJam. We know that some investors might not be as familiar, so I'm going to go deep on this one. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Yes.
Okay. All right, hold on. Oops. So just some background. PanJam is a strategic investment company. It's somewhat similar to Proven in terms of...
Zoom in on the part that you want us to look at.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just giving some...
At the same time. Yeah.
Right. Okay, no man. So we're going to do the walkthrough. I was just giving some background on what PanJam is. So PanJam is a strategic investment company. It has a mix of public equity, private equity, and real estate holdings. And the company has been on the market for a very long time, since about 1969 thereabout. So it's one of the legacy companies on the stock exchange. Now, in terms of the numbers, the operating income growth, it has been volatile because a lot of their income is tied to the performance of their securities. So because of the volatility tied to the COVID-19 shock on the market, we would have seen a significant pullback in that revenue stream in terms of their assets being marked to market and having fair value losses at that time. So that would have subdued their operating income growth. So that's a bit superficial. In terms of the recovery of the company, though, it has been significant for the same reason. Markets have recovered significantly, both in terms of stocks and bonds, and that has benefited the company. And in addition to that, their associate companies have also seen significant recovery in their profitability. So in the second column where we have results of associates, we saw some volatility there. Because of the pandemic, companies would have been significantly impacted, especially some of their tourism-linked assets. So we're talking about Choco, we're talking about Courtyard, Marriott, and also other assets that would have been significantly impacted. Some of the financial companies, they would have seen a squeeze and they have a lot of assets in that sector, and that would be a part of why they got hit. However, in terms of the recovery, again, the same argument, those companies have seen significant recovery since then, and that's why we would have seen a 41.5% 0.5% recovery from that area. In terms of profitability, as we see overall, year over year, we've seen 136% growth in profitability as at their 9 months results compared to the prior period. Their return on equity is 10%, and in terms of their price point, they are trading at a fairly cheap multiple. But let's go a little bit deeper in terms of what the company does. So right now, we can look at some of the highlights of the portfolio. So they own CIBC, the building itself. We're talking about the real estate assets now. CIBC building on Knoxford Boulevard. They own the PanJam, IBM, and Tourism Center building. They own Manor Park Plaza, the Scotia building downtown. They're developing Rock Hotel downtown.
Oh, that's
Aloft Hotel
them.
is in
That's
Miami.
PanJam.
Yeah, that's right. And that's just the real estate side of the company. I mentioned Courtyard Marriott as well. Now we're talking about their public equity. These are companies that are listed on an exchange. So they own 30.24% of Sagicor Group Jamaica. They own 3.24% of JMB Group. And they own 20% of Choca Caribbean Adventures. They own 15% of ITEL BPO. They own 25% of Newcastle Company, which is actually the holding company for Walkerswood and Busher Brown brands. And they export heavily, so they earn foreign exchange from that. And they own Williams Offices, 25% of that, which is the operator for Regis. So that is a company that allows people to do remote work. So you can come in and basically...
And Regis is in the PanJam building.
Right. So they have very diversified revenues. And those are all private equity assets. So they have a very diversified portfolio. If you were to look at the pie chart now, right, in terms of their assets, right, their asset composition, even though they hold substantial real estate, if you look at the book value of their holdings, as at the 9 months period ended September 30, 2021, more than half of their portfolio is actually in associated companies. So this is a combination of their private equity and public equity companies that they own. So pretty much they're heavily invested in companies, and that has a significant impact on their profitability, especially from associates, including JMB and Sagicor and others. Now we're talking about financial securities, that's stocks and bonds, that comprises around 20% of their portfolio, and investment properties comprise around 16% of their portfolio. So in terms of the drivers for the company, right, strong recovery in international and financial markets have helped the company perform much stronger year over year. It's likely to continue moving forward because economic data is generally improving. In Jamaica, we're seeing where employment is at a much higher level. So unemployment is trending down. That should propel business activity and also investor outlook, and that helps to drive financial markets. The same story overseas, and the company invests in a lot of international securities. Real estate portfolio is likely to benefit from inflation. So some of the rental income might be indexed to inflation, as is the case with many commercial contracts. So when inflation is higher, it means that rental income tends to move in line with this. And also property prices tend to be an effective inflation hedge. So this is good for a company like PanJam. Recovery in tourism should positively impact Choca and Courtyard Marriott. Same applies to Aloft, which is their Miami hotel holding. And of course, as I said, improvement in financial markets should affect both JMB and Sagicor as well, which would feed back into their results. And ITEL BPO is a leading BPO operator in Jamaica and other territories as well. So that should also benefit their results, because COVID-19 is starting to have less of a hold on business activity. You have higher vax rates, people can show up to work. So call centers will benefit from this. And Newcastle will also benefit from higher tourism activity because a lot of the restaurants use these products. In terms of the profit, I anticipate that their profit for the financial year, well, it's actually 2021 financial year, should be about 6.4 billion. This is billion. 6.4 billion. But it could surpass this based on the performance of associates. So if JMMB performs even stronger than anticipated, then they could surpass that level. But we expect them to do very well based on the things that were highlighted, right? I want to talk about the trading levels. The stock is at $65.90. Year to date is up 1.62%, which is not great. The 52-week high is actually, it's actually not performing well in terms of the 52-week high either, because the stock has been relatively flat. But here's a big
Zoom in,
story.
let's see those numbers.
Pardon me?
Zoom in some more. Let's see those numbers.
Yeah, come in.
The numbers that you're clicking on.
Yeah. So this is where we are in terms of year to date, right? The 52-week high is actually 74. So this 52-week high is 12.3% higher than the current level. So if we were to invert this, another way of looking at it is that it's actually down 10.95% from the 52-week high. So it means that it's an opportunity to jump in for investors who are interested. The PE multiple is 11 times, and the price to book now is 1.4 times roughly. So why is this important? In terms of where the company normally is, it's about 1.7 times in terms of the price to book. And if we were to multiply that by the current price to book, that would be about $83. So based on the fundamentals of the company, based on the portfolio, based on the positioning, based on the performance and the outlook, the company is arguably worth closer to $83 based on its book value and where it normally trades over the last 3 years. We have it here from the Bloomberg quote. That's where it normally is. I'll show it to you right here. 1.75 in the corner. And that now is an opportunity for investors. So we're looking at the price point. Where is it relative to the 52-week high? It's down 11% from the 52-week high. The PE is cheap. The price to book is cheap. I mentioned some of the portfolio assets. If you look at the historical performance, right? So from the Bloomberg terminal, the company has performed 434% over the last 10 years. If you're looking at it from a 5-year perspective, it has performed roughly 94% over the last 5 years. And in terms of where it is now, right, over the past year, we should say, it's down 6%. So that's why we basically encourage investors to look long term, because that's where the bag is. People say they want to secure the bag, you invest for the long term, and you buy quality. Again, this is not financial advice. Just do your homework,
Right.
buy quality, and stay informed.
But you're making a strong case for it. Tiffany wants to know, what is their history in terms of paying dividends for PanJam?
So dividends do come from PanJam's investment offering. Normally, the dividend yield is below 2%. So it's not that sexy in terms of dividend yield. But again, if you reinvest your dividends, you could actually get a higher return. So you can get a good chance of earning both income and capital gains from an investment like this, especially over a longer period of time.
I see we've cracked 300 live viewers. Yay! I want to say congratulations to me because this is a nice marker in the growth of the show. So
congrats, Kalila. Congrats.
And everybody who hasn't hit the like button yet, please do so, because it helps the algorithm tell other people that they should be watching this show. Because I see 300 people, but I don't see 300 likes. So hit the like button if you haven't done so just yet. We got to look at what's going on internationally. Google has announced a stock split 20-1, and Facebook took quite the hit last week. We've got to talk about it. And I know, Dwayne, you and Julian look at the international stocks quite a bit. Dwayne, which one do you want to start with, Google or Facebook?
I guess, but no, none of them is bad news. I was going to say, let's start with the bad news first, but both of them it's actually good.
Facebook is good news?
Yeah, well, it depends on how you're looking at it. I see Julian smiling and he was rubbing his hands before, so I'm thinking me and him are on the same wavelength for it. But really, what happened with Meta platforms, I would say, is an overreaction, because they did hit their in the US market. Normally they set out a certain target, and it's either you meet it or you beat it, or you fall back, right? You wouldn't have met it. They beat their revenue target, but their EPS and the profits were down. And as a result of that, we saw the market respond negatively to it. I think the stock price actually fell roughly 22% on day. It was a historic slump for the company. And you find that Meta, because of all of the controversy surrounding the company, any news that isn't favorable tends to play out in the stock price. It tends to take a dip. However, Facebook, one thing to note with them right now is that a lot of the money that they're spending is heavily invested in the metaverse. So they did really well in their revenue, but in terms of their cost for that period, I do believe that the spending was up roughly about 38%, and revenue was up 20%. So translating that, they would have had a smaller profit margin. But the thing is, they're investing heavily into the metaverse. They're embracing this new technology. So it's more of a long-term play. So with the stock price being down, based off of what they've presented to us this quarter, I would say Facebook is still a good buy. It's still something worth looking into and holding, because, we see how persons are starting to embrace the metaverse. We see that technology is moving towards that. So maybe not everyone might not buy into it, but it's definitely something that's coming, and it's coming fast. So it's good to be on at least the investing side to benefit from whatever, advantages come with it.
All right, let's look at Google's stock split. Jodianne, can you just walk us through what a stock split is and what impact that has on a company that does a stock split?
Sure. So typically, a stock split is really it's not really much of a change in terms of shareholder holdings within the company. So pretty much you would then decide that you are probably trading at a high price and you're not seeing trading volumes as you normally would. And so a company may make that decision to make a split just based on the fact that, even though we do value companies in relation to, PE and PB, you still have to interface with the nominal value. So, if you think about a stock that is probably $60 and it doubles in price, it has to go from 60 to 120. But if it were probably a stock split and you had it from 30 to 60, then that seems like a quicker move. And so it's really in terms of a benefit, in terms of just how it is that as humans, we see movement in numbers, and sometimes you just see large numbers and your nominal entry price just seems very high. So companies tend to engage in a stock split to offer that sort of improvement in terms of trading activity with a particular stock. So you say if it is that you had 500 shares, then there's a stock split, then you'd find that would move from 500 to a higher number based on the multiple that the stock would be split by.
Right. So in the case of Google's stock split, which is coming up in July, Google stock currently trades around $3,000 for one stock. That's like 500,000 Jamaican dollars for one stock in Google. And after the split, the price will come down to about $150. But for existing shareholders, so if you own a share in Google, and let's just for argument's sake say it's one share that you own in Google, that's worth $3,000. Since it's a 20-to-1 stock split, you will now, instead of owning one share for $3,000, you will own 20 shares for $150 each, which combined total $3,000. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really. But what it does is it brings down the stock price for people who might be wanting to get in for the first time. So for whom you might say $3,000 is prohibitive, 150 US is a lot less prohibitive. And in that regard, like Jodianne just said, it tends to increase trading in the stock. So more people start buying and selling it because it is now more affordable. And we're going to see that play out in July. What do you guys think is going to happen or has been happening up to following the announcement of the stock split? Julian?
Well, investors are, they watch the major, or what is called the mega cap tech stocks very closely. I know that many investors are waiting with bated breath to participate because, again, the stock split would allow a lot of people to participate who probably wouldn't be able to at this point. What's interesting is that there are many persons who, because of the flow of investors that would come in at this price point, that in and of itself can be a catalyst for further capital gains. So the point is, just because the stock split is happening and it might be beneficial to a wider pool of investors in the near term, it may not remain the case for very long because the demand is so high, the fundamentals are very strong for a company like that. And again, the mega cap tech stocks actually drive the S&P 500 index because it's market cap weighted, because these companies are so large in terms of market cap, they tend to drive the market. So we can anticipate that investors piling in could drive or help to drive the S&P 500 at some point this year.
Akeem wants to know if Jamaicans can invest in Google. Yes, you can. Proven Wealth and Ideal Securities Brokers both offer that service to allow you to invest in stocks listed on the US markets. That's one of the reasons we talk about them here on this program. And so, yeah, you can link them if you want to make that investment in Google. Somebody was asking as well, where is it? Noel said, didn't Massey shareholders approve a stock split? Yes, they did. And that is coming up on March 11. So Massey's stock price is around about 2,000 Jamaican dollars, which in the Jamaican market is very expensive. We don't tend to see stocks trading that high here in Jamaica. So they're doing also a 20-to-1 stock split. So their price is going to be coming down to, how much that? To about $100, about $100 per stock, effective in March. So you can look out for that and what possible impact that may have on the trading. So that's going to wrap it for this show.
Thank you guys so much. Though, in relation to the Google, one of the other things to note is that I think Julian mentioned that like S&P and stuff is market cap weighted. You also have the Dow Jones Industrial Index, which is price weighted. And so at the 3,000 price, Google wasn't able to be a part of that, 30 stock index. And so with the stock split, you could find that it is now falling into that range. And what that would mean is that particularly funds that, tend to track an index or have exposure to a particular index may then have to then rebalance and take up some of that. So that could in some ways fuel some of it as well. But it's not a definite that it would fall in, but it is likely that once it is that there's a stock split, then that could happen and it falls within that index.
All right. Thank you so much. And Orlando wants more information about Proven. So Orlando can link us via email or link them via email. Julian, give us an email address or a phone number that they can reach you. Not necessarily you, but the company.
All right, hold on. I'll get the where to get the
Just type it in the comments. Type it in the comments while we wrap up. All right.
Okay, no problem.
You can respond to Orlando. He wants to invest with Proven Wealth. All right. Thank you so much to our analyst panel, Dwayne, Julian, and Jodianne. We'll be back with your final comments and my little goodbyes.
This segment, The Analysts, was brought to you by Proven Wealth and Ideal Securities Brokers Limited.
Hey, moneymakers, you're not an official part of the family until you have your merch. Visit KalilaReynolds.com/store to order your t-shirt and your mask today. Let's get this money. Okay, so let's take your final comments here in the comments section. Ryan wants to know which bank account is best to have to start investing. So first of all, Ryan, a bank account is separate from an investment account. So in order to start investing, you need to open an investment account, different from your ordinary bank account. Your investment account will allow you to start making investments on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. You're going to be assigned a special number called a JCSD number. That's the Jamaica Central Security Depository number. Yeah, that's what it stands for. And that allows you to execute trades or to put in orders for buying and or selling. So you need to open that separate investment account, and you can get information on all the various brokers and what they offer in my broker guide, which is free when you subscribe to my newsletter at KalilaReynolds.com/newsletter. It also comes as part of the masterclass package, which you can get at KalilaReynolds.com/masterclass. Now, let me take some more of your comments. Kemoy getting all up in my business. He wants to know why I moved to Mandeville. My man carried me. Hobby went, so the rest of the family must follow. Stocks Unedited says, big up Taking Stock. Thank you so much. Big up to you as well. Ione says, thanks everyone. It was a good show. Orville says, I learned from some of the best. There's another comment I wanted to take. Here it is. Strong Link says, with interest rates going up, their bonds might be under pressure. So that interest rate, those interest rates are definitely something that we keep on tracking. And Al Swaby, given the rise of TikTok, though not listed, is Facebook still a good buy? Well, their whole transition to Meta and being in the metaverse, well, you heard the analysts take on Facebook. So they are moving out of the traditional social media space, and they're looking at the entire future of social media and probably what we'd probably call social immersion, being in that metaverse. It's a completely different thing than we already know and are accustomed to. So if you're looking for what's hot now, TikTok sure is number one. What is going to be hot in the future? And that's where Facebook/Meta has its eyes. And as an investor, you want to be able to spot the trends of the future. If you're buying now based on what's hot now, typically you end up buying high. For example, Fontana is hot. This for the past week or 2, week and a half, Fontana has been hot. And if you want to enter Fontana now, it's gonna cost you. But if you foresaw 2 years ago that Fontana was going to be hot in a couple of years, then that would have been the time to buy when Fontana IPO'd at $1.88. And now you get to reap those rewards now that it's at $11, $12. So if you believe in the future that Facebook has outlined for the metaverse, you believe that really is going to be the next big thing, well, that is something that you would want to consider adding to your portfolio. It was a great show, everybody. Thanks for joining me once again. If you haven't smashed that like button just yet, I encourage you strongly to do it. And I see the numbers have gone up. We went from 100 to 201 likes, but I still see more than 200 of you online. So if you haven't done it yet, give me a like so that the algorithm can tell other people to watch this show. Thank you once again. I appreciate your presence. We'll do it again, same time next week. And also tomorrow, I'm going to be doing Money Moves JA Live for the very first time. We are talking about Exim Bank's loan offers regarding the DBJ's. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Christian, help me out. Exim Bank is offering, the DBJ has its Serve Jamaica program. Yes, that's the word I was trying to remember. The Serve Jamaica program, and they have some special offers under that, and Exim Bank is partnering with it. So we're going to be doing Money Moves JA live right here on YouTube for the first time tomorrow. And if you have any questions about that, how you can access that for your business, how much money you can get, what are the repayment terms, then that is the place to be tomorrow. Once again, I'm Kalila Reynolds. Let's say it together, guys. Let's get this money. Bye.
Let's get this money.